Hello everyone, it's Lennon, and today I very much want to finally do this video, this topic, because I've been thinking about it for years. Years ago, when I first started my channel, someone had actually messaged me and asked why I chose to use the terms witchcraft and spirituality seemingly interchangeable, right? I think they were trying to get out of me why I thought that they were the same thing, or why when I would choose to use the term spirituality for something I was doing in my practice, I would say spirituality instead of witchcraft, or vice versa. And they pretty much, I think that they were trying to get to the point that they believed them to be different things. And I do too. And I told them that. And I told these people, or I told this person, that I may not have a definitive answer for a while. But, you know, if it happens, it happens. If I finally get my thoughts organized, it'll happen. And hopefully will alleviate some of those like lingering questions within your brain about why I choose to intersect the two terms. Now, okay, public service announcement for you guys. I am going to be talking in Venn diagram terms in this video. Very much what I believe spirituality is and what I believe witchcraft is, and then the VESICA Pisces that lives in the center of both of them, what lies in the middle, what lies in the center of those two circles. And it's very much like terms of each that I believe could go into, very much in my own opinion, the umbrella terms of each one of those, because spiritual people live very, very different lives. When you say I'm a spiritual person, that means an umbrella term, okay? And then every person in that circle will practice their spirituality different, okay? And then witchcraft is the same thing. It's an umbrella term that lives up here, and that all the witches that you know live under this umbrella, but we're all different, right? And we're all going to have different answers for different things, and it's all good, okay? It's all good. But what this person's question did, I knew right off the bat, because I'm not one of those that gets asked a question and then wants to jump at it, okay? Right off the rip. I like to think about the questions. And I didn't think it would, but it's plagued me, the question. Over the last couple of years, the question has constantly evolved, right? And I keep having more and more thoughts on the question. And it has haunted me, the question. What is the real difference between witchcraft and spirituality? And I got to thinking, I do use the terms interchangeably. I do find similarities between the two. I'm using this necklace as like a crown, and it's just like giving me all kinds of witchy, beautiful vibes, but it keeps falling off my forehead. So that was a long preamble. I hope y'all stayed with me. Now, I've taken some notes in my handy dandy notebook. What, like I said, this question has plagued me, right? Every practice is personal. Every spiritual practice and religious practice and witchcraft practice, they lie in the umbrellas, okay? But what I tried to do was put some keywords in a very, very middle school Venn diagram way of what I believe lies in the Venn diagram itself, like an actual Venn diagram. I don't know why I'm honing into that so hard, that this is an actual Venn diagram that has been drawn out by me, and that I have terms in the spirituality and terms in the witchcraft and terms in the VESICA Pisces of this Venn diagram that I have done. So hopefully I'll be able to convey what these Venn diagrams say in this video for me. Again, I'm really hoping that these terms could relate to witches in this umbrella, under the people that are in the under the umbrella of witchcraft, and the people that are under the umbrella of spirituality. So I'm really hoping that I can formulate this in a way that is inclusive to these people that practice these. But we'll see. And feel free to leave me your Venn diagram terms below. I would love to get into a discussion about this, or make a VR, spirituality versus witchcraft. And I guess that's what the tag's going to be. I'll probably put it somewhere in the description box. Anyways, okay. Witchcraft lives on this circle. I put control, okay? Now again, because this is a Venn diagram, I'm very much going to say this word for witchcraft and then this word for spirituality, because I'm really trying to, which doesn't always work, but I'm really trying to put them in black and white terms, okay? I know that is not a popular thing to do anymore. It's really not. But in terms of the Venn diagram and what the differences could be, I'm really trying to put some dualistic terms down so that we can get a better feel for it. Again, I'm putting all these disclaimers down so that I'm not trying to offend the ones inside these umbrellas. So if witchcraft is control, to me, this is about controlling the everyday. Controlling the everyday, controlling what happens in your day-to-day. For me, the difference between witchcraft and spirituality would then be, if witchcraft is about control, we make the rules, right? We've put down we do certain spells, certain rituals. We have certain practice techniques that will allow us to gain back the control, especially in the situations that we seemingly don't have control over. We want to gain that control back, okay? So for me, witchcraft is about gaining that control back. But then what would spirituality be? If we think of spirituality in terms of, in its base term, which is spirit, then for me, that is about relinquishing the control. Woo. Let go and let the God X's, you know? So witchcraft is about, let's gain some control back in the situation. Most likely, the control that we're gaining back is from a mundane, not necessarily from a spirit situation. We're gaining control back from our daily lives, from the things that hinder us from having the reins in our everyday lives. We want to be able to feel a little bit more in control of our own situations. So I want to hold the reins more in my own witchcraft. But then in terms of spirituality, I want to be able to lift up my arms with spirit, with source, with divine, whatever, and relinquish it. But how they would intersect there is I decide. I decide when I want to hold the reins, and I decide when it's the best time for me to let go. Okay? It's not on somebody else's dime. It's me. Now, this really doesn't get into, when we're talking about relinquishing control, this really doesn't get into deity work. I left that out because I very much work with my deities in an abstract way. So it's not that I'm a dedicant of a deity. And so therefore, if you're working with a god or a deity, a deity that you consider your god, there may be some control that you work on with that deity, right? Like that deity kind of can hold the reins sometimes, which is like I said, this is that's a personal part of your practice, right? That involves both control and relinquishing control, but it may come in, you may have contact with deity in those terms. But for me, in terms of witchcraft, the practice itself of witchcraft, the ritual, devotion, and ceremony, and all that goes into your witchcraft practice, it's about holding the reins a little bit more. Okay, it's not in a severe way, just a regular way. And then with spirit, when you're trying to have a relationship with source, divine, whatever, you want to be able to, at times, relinquish that control. Okay, I'm no longer holding the wheel. Someone else hold the wheel. Or, and I don't mean that in terms of like, Jesus take the wheel. I mean more along the lines of when I relinquish, well, okay, I'll say in my opinion, when I relinquish control, I want it to be in a way of guidance. Okay? If there's honestly a situation that I encounter with my spirit, with my deity, with my God, with the source and divinity in your own head, whatever, however you define that, there comes points in that where you really don't have the wheel. You're not in control. And then instead of holding tighter, doing more rituals, doing more abundance spells, doing more money spells, you're like, okay, divine step in. Divine step in. Because nothing I'm doing is working, and I don't want to get so severe in my control that I don't know how to let go anymore, that I don't know how to let spirit guide me anymore, right? So it's really all of these terms are really just going to keep the scales balanced, that to me, okay? Between your mundane, everyday life and the life and relationship you have with your divinity, okay? Okay, so next set of terms here is witchcraft. To me is, now if we're talking mundane life, like we were in control, we're still kind of going on that aspect. Witchcraft to me is earth magic, okay? I call this the old religion. The magic of the earth itself. That's elemental magic, okay? Elemental, actually it's not even magic as of this point. I'm talking elemental properties. The properties of the elements that are present on our planet, okay? So it's very much planet Earth based. Now, I know that there are a lot of witches out there that don't have a Earth-centric practice. But for me, witchcraft practice, the practice itself, in my opinion, and especially my own practice, my opinion of witchcraft is an elemental in nature. It could be more in the control aspect than it is an elemental. But for me, there's a big emphasis on elemental work in witchcraft. And that's all the elements that are present on Earth. So it's very much elemental in nature. But then spirituality is otherworldly. Okay? Now, when I say otherworldly, I don't necessarily mean other planets, okay? We're not going to Mars, okay? We're not shooting over to Venus. We're not in our solar system. I mean other planes of existence. The planes of existence that your divinity lives on, okay? And how you get there. It's like the rungs of a ladder, right? There's always some sort of ladder or hierarchy or a lightning bolt, if we're going Tree of Life, that gets you to your divinity, right? There's, in every case of spirituality, there's some like realm. Again, you can go to deity work. Where do your deities live? Where do they reside? In what terms do you think of them in like, are there realms that you can actually travel to in your mind's eye on the astral? Are they psychological models? Are they, or archetypes? There's so many ways you could think of the term otherworldly. But to me, that's just not our plane of existence. Right? So if witchcraft itself, the practice therein, is, in this side, is elemental. So the 5, however many elements you use in your practice, versus the other world. All the elements, it's still elemental, but it's an otherworldly, okay? When we think of auras, not everyone can see auras. Not everyone can see the crackling of energy that lives on, that lives in the other planes of existence. Other creatures that aren't present on Earth, but they're present in other planes of existence. All those properties of otherworldliness live in the spirituality circle of the Venn diagram. Okay, then coming down. I'm trying to go in some kind of order here, but there's really not an order. Okay, like I said, it's just a simple Venn diagram. To me, witchcraft, again, when we're linking the earth, the elements, and control, gaining control back, in the seemingly situations that you have low or no control over. I also think about the self. Witchcraft is about you, okay? Now, I don't mean this in selfish terms. I mean very much in terms of, in my opinion, now there are a lot of witches, okay? Like I said, I'm really trying to not hurt anyone's feelings here. But to me, there's so many witches out there that do help other people using their own personal witchcraft, their own personal energy. But for me, the core of your magic has to come from somewhere. It has to come from you. So if whether or not you choose to use your magic, your witchcraft practice to aid others, to aid societies, to aid communities, whatever you choose to use it for, it has to come from somewhere. So witchcraft itself in the Venn diagram on this side is mind, body, and soul. Okay? Now, when I use those terms, you'd think that soul would belong in spirituality. And it does. But when I think about mind, body, spirit, mind, body, soul, whichever the triple term, the triplicity of those terms, however you think of them, they exist in me because those are the three main elements of you that you have to keep up with in order to let your magic keep flowing. Okay? Your power, your energy will become stagnant if one of those things or multiples of those things or all of them are out of whack. Okay? There are ways that you can either use things in everyday life, like fitness, like therapy, okay, and having a spiritual practice, which lives over here, to aid in those three big things of mind, body, soul, mind, body, spirit. But there are mundane ways to look at those three terms that aid you in keeping your flower, I don't know why I said flower, keeping your power moving, okay? The lightning that lives inside of you that's constantly crackling inside of you, if you're in tune with your own mind, body, and soul, you know when something's kind of out of whack, right? Oh, well, I do. I know when something's out of whack. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm like worrying about this one thing, or I'm upset about this one thing, or I'm grieving about this thing, or I'm elated about this thing to the point where I'm out of balance and I need to get more heart-centered, I need to get more brain-centered, or I need to relinquish control and go a little bit more spiritual now because I've been so in a rut with the life. But there's a balance that needs to be kept in the you that I believe is witchcraft. But then on the other side of mind, body, spirit of this Venn diagram that I'm looking at on my handy dandy paper, on my handy dandy paper when I'm looking at this, when I think about the balance of those three being witchcraft over here, then spirituality would be what? Your higher self. The self that does not live on this plane. The self that, again, like your divinity, lives with your divinity. Now, I don't know in what terms you could say that, but for me, my higher self lives on the same realm as my source or my divinity, right? My God, my Godexes. And I can talk to it, right? I can talk to my higher self. I can be with my higher self without talking to my divinity, with leaving them out of it, or I can use them in tandem with my deity, my abstract, my archetypes, whatever. It's a way for me to plug in to that divine part of myself. There's a huge portion of my own personal practice that revolves around my own divinity. And I would consider that more my higher self, which is my spiritual practice, not my witchcraft practice. Again, this is a Venn diagram. They will often intersect, okay, through down the line of that VESICA Pisces. So mind, body, spirit over here in witchcraft that you work on to keep in balance, to keep your magic and power flowing. And then you have your higher self over here that you either have a relationship with, or you talk to, or you use in tandem with keeping the other things balanced. Okay, but it's still that otherworldly part of yourself. Now, the next dualistic terms, I guess you could say, are kind of weird, but I'm gonna go with it. Now, for witchcraft, for me, witchcraft is about autonomy. Okay, now autonomy to me doesn't mean, again, it doesn't mean selfishness to me. It means, well, it means equality to me. It means the golden rule: do unto others as you would do unto as they would do unto you, or whatever the hell that the goal. Why don't I even know the golden rule? But anyway, I think about autonomy in witchcraft because I believe that when we look at all the previous terms that I've gone over, it is about staying one, but being part of the collective. So I'm like a flower. Here's where I was going to say flower. I'm like a blooming flower in a flower bed, okay? Because I'm not the only human on this plane of existence. I have to be able to interact with those other flowers, okay? And when I think of it like that, I think, flowers aren't selfish beings. They grow alone, okay? But there's other flowers in the garden. And it's just, there's a way in which you have this equal footing, this empathy, this compassion about being a human with other humans. There's a humanity that you must maintain. So this, I guess, I guess what I was meaning to say with autonomy is maintaining this source with yourself, getting down to this, like I said, mind, body, soul, mind, body, spirit, control, stuff like that. I think of it in the autonomous way as a way to, you need to equalize yourself with all the humans and creatures on our plane of existence. And there's very much, not always, and for not all witches, but just to put it out there, a very animistic way of thinking of the earth and thinking of the creatures, the living things that very much come on this plane of existence naturally, not man-made. And having an autonomous relationship with those beings and living beings. Now, for spirituality, on the other side of this Venn diagram, I wrote forging a relationship with the divine. So again, we've been talking about divinity, and source, or whatever we want to call it, on this side of spirituality, because that is what it is. It's a relationship with spirit of some kind, or some kinds. This could be this, again, spirit to you could be an umbrella term. Just this the unexplainable notion of things that aren't really happening on our plane of existence. So, what lives over here is the idea, really the idea of spirit and however you work with it. And then over here is the idea of earth and the living creatures therein, you included, and how you work with that, in my opinion. So, forging a relationship with the divine. Again, like I said in the beginning, we could go into the religiosity of that, but for me, there's a big old sign here that says spirit, and everyone's relationship with that is going to be different. But I believe in the seeking nature, the automatic seeking nature of humanity, that we are seeking something. And what I call spirit is this little beacon of light here that everyone wants to know what it is, right? It's this big light here that's flashlight in your face that's housing a question mark. And everyone, really, to an extent, and I don't mean every single human, okay? I'm not really trying to say that. I'm just saying, let's just say spiritual people, They have this seeking notion about them, and this beacon of light here that's shining in our face has a big question mark. And we want to form a relationship with that which we don't know, that which we can't explain. So that's what the difference between this side of this Venn diagram is like autonomy. I want to be one with nature. I want to be one with the universe. Okay? I want to be solely myself on this plane where we're all human, and I have a relationship with living things, plants, animals, you know, the elements, right? I have a relationship with those here. But then over here, I want to be one with, I want to not just be one with the living things that I come in contact with, that I have a relationship with on my own plane, but I want to be one with all the rest of it. So to me, these two terms, I guess, could be the as above, so below terms, in terms of as above is spirituality, but below is witchcraft. The below. And the magician lies in the middle. I have always been in love with the creation story, but which could go into religion and we could go into spirituality. Rarely does the creation, where we came from, that question is a spiritual question to me, and it's not a witchcraft question. Because I couldn't do mundane work. I guess I could if I thought about it. If I really plugged that in, that probably could be another video. But to me, witchcraft is about the here and now. The creation story is a question for spirituality. But for me, the question of where I came from goes on belief. What I actually believe, right? So, in terms of witchcraft versus spirituality, to me, there's only a difference in where I came from, what I believe in. Mapping out my relationship with things on this plane of existence helps me to experience things in a mundane way. And I can get control in certain situations, doing certain things in my witchcraft practice from that, which allows me to make up my mind about what I believe in terms of where I came from. So see how they kind of intersect there for me, I guess? We'll go with that. Okay, then. The last thing I wrote in these terms, or one of the last two things that I wrote in the two Venn diagram terms, is instinct versus peace. Spirituality is peace. Witchcraft is instinct. Okay? I think what I meant by this was that you're seeking peace in spirituality. Seeking this, I think that peace for me is what I would consider underlying hope. Okay? For the future, for the big question, which is what happens when you die? Okay, it's a big old spiritual question right there. And it's peace. You have to have peace with what your belief is, which was the other term that we used. But it's hope for the future that you don't know what the future is. And it's peace with what you think you believe in, which are all the beliefs are all valid and they're all beautiful. But if you truly believe in something and belief is key for you, to me, it's about having peace with that. If you don't have peace with that, it needs to get tweaked, right? But that's a spirituality thing. But in terms of witchcraft, because I think I wrote down peace first, and I was thinking about, spirituality being very a peace thing. I want to be at peace with my decisions. I want to be at peace with what the future may hold. I want to be able to come at the future with a better relationship, okay? I guess, for lack of better terms. And I want to be able to have hope that if I need to, I can change things, which is witchcraft. So those two intersect, but I wrote instinctual down because to me, witchcraft, the practice therein, okay, the actual practice of witchcraft, doing spells, doing rituals, ceremonies, devotions, whatever you do in your witchcraft practice, is instinctual, usually, okay? It means you already have a feeling about how certain things are done in your practice that actually benefits the practice. And that usually, most witches, when something's not working, because I know a lot of people talk about the not working things, when stuff's not working, what do? You chuck it. You cross it out of that book. Oh, that doesn't resonate. Cross it out, right? It's instinct and it's intuition, okay? And it's the way in which, and actually, to me, it's not quite intuition yet, because that's spirituality to me. But instinct is about doing things in your practice, right? We're molding, we're doing things. And then if something's not working, or we have a doubt about it, or we really get down to the mind, body, spirit, which lives up here on the Venn diagram, we have an instinct about what to do and how to change what we're doubting, how to change what's not working, how to cross out what's not going to work and what we know is not going to work. So this is working with our instinct in a way that is very much a you thing, and you on this plane of existence. But again, it's like relinquishing control and having control, or grabbing the reins. But peace lies in your ability to say, I've done all I can, and I've done it the way that I believe to be right, and I've done it in an instinctual way, where my instincts are pulling it out of me in a way, like the way you do ritual, the way you do ceremony, the way you do devotionals. All of that is going to come from a place that you decide is right? And then you just chuck the rest. But for some reason, peace and hope come from an underlying place of, I've done all of I can. Now I just have to have faith, which is spirituality. I have to have faith that such and such is gonna happen. And if it doesn't, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it, right? So I guess if we're really looking into this, it's control versus relinquishment. But I wanted to get a little bit into it. Now, let's talk about magic, okay? Because a lot of witches, there probably are witches that don't conduct magic, okay? Now, magic to me goes back to the elements. In this Venn diagram, I just had a brain fart. In this Venn diagram, when we go chuck up the list of words I was talking about, and we go up to elemental, okay, I wrote a little arrow, drew a little arrow to the other page, that I wanted to touch on magic itself, because magic for me is energy, and that's what witchcraft is to me. It's not what the practice is, it's what we use in our practice is energy, which is what I consider magic to be. It's the energy that either comes from us or comes from our source, our divinity, which is spirituality. They intersect here, and magic is what comes out of us, out of our spiritual practice and our witchcraft practice. So the first thing in the VESICA Pisces that would intersect them in a real way would be magic. And this is, to me, this is energy. Now, we could go on the fact that magic to me in the VESICA Pisces goes on energy, but it goes on elemental energy. So that's ley lines, storms, herbs, things that come from the earth, that live on the earth, this plane of existence, that we can utilize. I don't mean to look, I looked really severe when it did, oh, you know, like a one of them cartoon witches. It's not that bad. But, to me, it's very elemental, and it's very much a give and a take of energies that live on the earth, okay, and how we use them in an instinctual way. But then it's all on willpower as well, your own personal willpower, which again comes from this side, mind, body, and spirit. So it's willpower / power, your own power, and how you get that power, your energy. So you have to constantly be in balance of your own power, your own willpower, what that looks like, how you fuel yourself in terms of your energy, how you're going to give back when you can, right? When you can give back to the earth in certain ways, when you give back to yourself in certain ways. So giving back to the earth in terms of, you need to go out there and water your garden, right? You need to go out there and be with your trees. You need to go out there and take care of the earth in a way, right? Like I'm throwing ideas out there, but then you relinquishing your energy to aid in the power and aid in your magic comes from self-love. Ways in which we self-love are, to me, very powerful ways we relinquish our energies. So it's magic to me is energy. It's elemental work, the way in which we work with the earth, the sphere, okay, the planet, and then will and willpower and reality. But I think for me, reality is what we make of it, okay? Not everyone's reality is the same. We experience reality in different ways. So my life experience is going to be different than your life experience, but experience is experience nonetheless. And it is how we experience things that allows our brain to map out our reality of the past, present, and future. We derive from the past and what has worked and what hasn't. And we work in the future. We don't just armchair practice. We work in the future, or work in the present, because we're not armchair practitioners. And then we hope and have peace for the future. And magic lies at the core of that. Your will, your power, your energy, and the way in which you work with the elements. Okay, now we're getting down to the bottom of my paper here. That lies that I wrote lies at the core of both. So this is the Vesica. This is the let me see if I can draw it out. The Vesica Pisces, and lives in the middle of both circles of spirituality and witchcraft. Okay, and I think these are just keywords here. Seeking. You can seek in both witchcraft and spirituality. You can love, the way in which you love. So that's tapping into your love languages and the people in your life's love languages interacting. Okay, so love to me is a way of interacting with your own and others that you come in contact with love languages. Respect. Okay, respecting yourself, the autonomous relationship you have with yourself and others and living beings. I want to extend that to living things. Freedom. Okay. Freedom is a harsh word to me. Okay, let's get that clear. Freedom is not a happy term to me. Because I believe that, I don't want to say I don't believe it exists, okay? I believe that we make our own freedom. And mostly, someone else has your freedom. That's all I'm going to say. So it's not a happy term, but freedom lies in the core of spirituality and witchcraft. Okay? Celebration. The way in which we celebrate witchcraft and spirituality. The way we celebrate the divine through devotion, probably. And the way we celebrate ourselves and our own willpower and magic and energy. So that lies both. Meeting people where they are. Now we could say that is respect, but I saw something on Instagram that was a quote by Tupac that was freaking perfect for this. Tupac said, "Just because you're not my friend doesn't make you my enemy. I still want you to eat, just not at my table." Chef's kiss, okay? And he was right. Just because I don't want to be your friend and I don't want to know you in grandiose ways, I don't want you to be in my life, doesn't mean I want you to starve, okay? It doesn't mean that I don't want you to go out and have the best life you can. Just, it's not going to be around me, okay? But meeting people where they are, knowing what you want in terms of a relationship with someone, that lies at the core of witchcraft and spirituality, and it could also go into respect. respecting someone else's practice in both realms of the Venn diagram, loving the part of that person that doesn't always agree with you. Again, that goes on to respect. Pushing beyond your boundaries. Okay, that lies to both. You need to push yourself in both your relationship with source and divinity, and spirituality and spirit, the unknowable here that you want to seek out, and the pushing the boundaries as to what you can do. Don't just get into a rut with your witchcraft. Constantly change things up so that the rut doesn't happen, and that actually opens new crackles in the lightning that is your own power, in my opinion. I wrote down communication. Communication is key in both. Now, in witchcraft, for me especially, I have a solitary practice. So it's mostly, for me, communication is communication with myself on what my practice is lacking, what it needs, yada, yada, yada. That's a conversation, an actual conversation I have to have with myself. And then find a way to have a conversation or conversations with your divine or deity. Right? So communication. It's key for every relationship you have, whether it's with yourself, with the others you choose to help in your witchcraft, and with your sense of spirit, whatever that looks like to you. It doesn't always have to be a god. I want to put that out there too, is that spirit to me doesn't have to be a god. You could be atheist, okay, and still have this spiritual practice that lies in this, that it's still the beacon of light with a big question mark on it. It's like, what is this? What am I seeking? Blah, 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 blah. What spirituality is for me, I guess if we want to back up a second, is the big questions. Where do I go when I die? If you care, okay? You may not care about any of these questions. Where did I come from? How big is the universe really? How can I know myself? But I know the importance of know thyself. Okay, that's a whole nother, the know thyself topic is like huge. So anyways, but the big questions that you have lie in spirituality for me. It's not always source. It's not always, in God terms. That's just how I was putting it for the Venn diagram. So just want to put that out there too. Now the last thing I wrote was ascension. Okay. But I think that what I meant here is growth. There's always a way to grow your witchcraft practice. And there's always a way for you to grow your spiritual practice. There's always more questions for you to ask in terms of spirituality. And there's always more ways in which you can shift around your witchcraft practice. It's all about not letting the dust settle. That's it. That's what ascension to me is. It's ascending to places you've never been before. Okay? And not being scared of those places. In any term. In any kind of religious, spiritual, or witchcraft practice, there's a point in which you just have to take the training wheels off and ride. And that's how we're going to ascend. Woo! That was a long video. But I'm so glad that I was actually able to put it in words. Now to end this, I want to say one thing. And that's going to be our word if you get to the end of this, is fate/destiny. Whichever word you want to choose for this. Fate/destiny. When I talk about magic coming from you, okay? It's either it's coming from you using your energy and you replenishing and refueling how you need to see fit. But then you can be a conduit, okay? A conduit from your sense of divinity. You can become a conduit and you're using their energy, their power, their magic. But to me, that's witchcraft. All of what I just said is witchcraft. But I want to plug in here as like a last thing that I do believe that there should be a realm in the magic, because I said that was like, that lies in the gray area for me. But then also destiny and fate have to be there somewhere. If you believe in it. A lot of people don't believe in destiny. They don't believe in fate. But if you do believe in destiny and fate, it has its place on the Venn diagram. And I'm sure all of our Venn diagrams for this would be different. But when I was just thinking about magic, I just happened to look down and look at magic/energy on my paper here. I was like, but where's destiny on this? I should have put destiny. You know, like the wheel turns and it's big wheels keep on turning, you know, like the fate aspect of my both witchcraft and spiritual practice. A lot of it derives on fate/destiny, but I guess I could say that that goes on faith. That fate and destiny goes on faith a little bit. But anyway, so put destiny down or use a cute emoji that you think fate or destiny would look like. I guess that would be a crystal ball. Maybe, because we don't have a lot of spiritual. We don't have a lot of witchcraft slash. We don't have a lot of witchcraft slash spiritual emojis. Have y'all ever noticed that? Like, we've got some stars and we got a psychic ball or whatever, crystal ball. We don't have any like cool spirituality slash witchcraft emojis. But somebody needs to get on that. So thank you so much for hanging out with me for this hour. Almost an hour. But I'm really hoping to see you guys soon. Let me know your thoughts below, or if you choose to do another video, use the tag spirituality versus witchcraft, and I'll be like stalking it for a little while to see if someone else does it. But if you do it and you don't think I'll get to it, then leave it. You can come back and leave it in the comment section for all of us to go see. This is just one of those big topics that I didn't know I would be able to cover. Probably still didn't, in a good way. But if you have any thoughts, please be sure to leave them below. The dialogue with questions like this is great. And I hope to see everyone again soon. Much love.